Yo, what's up, boys and girls? Welcome to week 2 of MPL Indonesia's season 13 recap. We've got a lot of changes to the team power rankings, and we've got a few new segments for what we promised last week. If you guys remember, I did promise that we will be also listing or ranking every single role. So every single player based on every single role, and we will see how it'll look like later, all right? But yeah, disclaimer again, this is going to be based on week 2, the performances of the teams and how much they have improved in week 2. It won't be for the entire season. It's just based on their performance in week 2. So without further ado, let's get on to the team power rankings. All right, boys, so here it is. This is the tier list for week 1. We're going to adjust some of the teams. We're going to start with the top team with number 1, and then we're going to lead to Bigatron, Alter Ego Dewa, and so on and so forth. And we're going to adjust their rankings based on their week 2 performance. Now, this is where it gets interesting, right? Because week 1, based on the performance, this is, in my opinion, still very, very accurate. Because for Aura and Rebellion, it really felt like they just didn't know what they were doing for the most part, didn't have synergy at all. And for Rebellion, mostly, draft problems, etc. But let's move on just to start listing. With firstly Onyx. I think Onyx will be one of the only teams that will stay where they are right now. Onyx are looking really, really good still. Very, very consistent. And they are still able to find mid-game decisions to turn games around very, very easily for them. I think we can take Onyx versus RRQ Game 2 as a very, very good example of this. Alter Ego versus Onyx in Game 2, in Game 3 as well. The way that they adapted, the way that they adjusted to their opponents. Still masterful, and they did it with 2 different lineups. They tried it with Albert, and they did it with CW. Both of them seem to fit the roster really, really well. It gives them more of a dynamic playstyle. That's something that I would not have expected to hear from Onyx. You would already expect them to be pretty dynamic, but now with 2 substitutes they can utilize with different matchups, they can even be more dynamic than before, which is crazy. So we're really not going to move Onyx at all here. Onyx still there. Based on the standings as well, actually, technically, based on the week 1 performance, this is very accurate, the top 4 teams, because we did get the top 4 very correct in the standings. But again, yeah, it's based on week 1, Onyx, BTR, Alter Ego, Dewa. Now we move on to BTR, the second team that I put closer to Onyx than all the other teams. And honestly, this week was a bit disappointing for Bigatron Alpha. They did show a bit more mistakes, a little bit more holes in their game, mainly against Dewa. But we'll talk about their matchup against Alter Ego, because that was also there were also a lot of mistakes that were happening there, left and right, against Alter Ego. Bigatron Alpha, Game 1, Alter Ego were just playing it so well, and then BTR were able to come back in Game 2 after adjusting to the draft, after adjusting with the Bruno pick over the carry that we've seen after the patch. I think for Bigatron, the main problem for them was right after the patch, they weren't completely adjusted yet. They still had a very different view on which heroes are prioritized, which heroes are super prio, compared to Alter Ego, who had the understanding instantly. They didn't hesitate to pick up the Bruno against the carry at all. Very easy pickup for them, and Nino was able to just pop off against Bigatron in game number 1. And in game number 3, I would say Bigatron, they actually had a very good draft, but for some reason, that execution got in their way, where there were a few times, actually this isn't in game 3, but more of game 1 when they lost with the X-Borg too. It's just their execution sometimes go off, like in the early game. There's going to be a lot of invades that are really good for Bigatron, but then a lot of invades for them where they mechanically kind of fuck up. I think I remember the Sorizo flicker to the wall moment where it basically gave the early game back to Alter Ego. That Xavier game as well. See, as good as Xavier is right now for Alter Ego, it should still be quite easily punished in the early game. But unfortunately, Bigatron, they fell so hard in the early game, in Game 3, on that Beatrix, on that X-Borg, and Alter Ego were able to capitalize on it. Triple kill on Xavier for a comp that was built to wait for the Xavier to scale. If the Xavier gets a triple kill early, they are going to smash BTR. And that's exactly what happened. And also, in the match against Dewa, Game 1 was just really weird. Dewa United had them by the balls, man. They really grabbed Bigatron and didn't let Bigatron go up until the very end, where even though, yes, BTR played it really well, they were managing the waves, it was very impressive to see them come back from a massive disadvantage, a massive gold lead that Dewa had. It was still, for me, more impressive for Dewa to be able to hold Bigatron like that from the early game all the way to the late game. But yeah, they also came back, not just because they played it perfect, but also because Watt completely trolled. So I don't want to give Bigatron too much credit there. And just like I said, in week 1, the real proof, the real requirement, criteria that Bigatron needs to fill in before they are considered as a team that can beat Onyx will be their match against Ultra Ego and their match against Dewa, right? Because these are the two next best things below Onyx. So yeah, against Ultra Ego they were okay. Against Dewa they were also okay. We're going to have to bump them down. Very sad for me as a BTR fan, but we're going to have to bump them down right here for now. We'll move Dewa and Ultra Ego accordingly. So we're going to go and check out Ultra Ego now, right? After BTR, all that, we've been talking about it. Ultra Ego, man. I was considering Ultra Ego in top team, but last week. But I decided to put them in just the highest grade, higher than Dewa. Barely, like almost scraping top team. And against Onyx, man, they were looking like a top team. They were looking like a team that could actually take it to Onyx. In game number 1, they legit beat Onyx at their own game. And that was also listed in the keys to victory for Ultra Ego. Just match up at what Onyx is trying to do. If Onyx want to play strong side XP, if they want to go for neutral objectives, go for it. Do the same thing. Because really, especially after game number 1, Ultra Ego have what it takes to beat Onyx in their own playstyle, right? Control neutral objectives, snowball in the early game. But for Ultra Ego, I think they got way too creative, way too fast. After winning game 1, I personally would expect, again, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know how they prepare for these matches, what the planning is. I actually did get to talk to Taz about game number 2's draft, which we are going to be touching on a bit. Me personally, not a big fan of using cheese strategies in games where in series where you're already ahead. You're already 1-0 ahead. I would expect, especially considering how Ultra Ego beat Onyx in game number 1, I was expecting Ultra Ego to do the same thing. They beat Onyx at their own game. They beat him at neutral objective control. They beat him at dominating the game in the early game and snowballing into the mid game. Why didn't they try to do the same in game number 2? Sure, Onyx are a team known to adjust very fast, but it just felt like that game 2 draft from Ultra Ego is a very game 3 draft. It's a draft that you would use when you get desperate, when you already don't know what else to do. Not a draft that you would pull out when you have dominated your opponent in game 1. I asked Taz backstage, and we did have a conversation about it. He did tell me, that draft actually is a good strategy by them. They find a lot of success with that draft. But yeah, for me, I think the decision to utilize that draft in game number 2 was a bit premature. I think if it's in game number 3, it would still be more viable. My criticisms towards it as an analyst on day 3 was that I think the Xavier wouldn't have enough DPS to carry the team alone, because he was really the sole damage dealer. The Ruby was building damage too, but towards the late game, it will only just be a massive burden on the Xavier to deal the most damage and the only damage. I think we saw Blacklist International utilize the same draft with the Ruby Gold, but then a ton in the jungle, and it was Vixana in the mid lane for Blacklist, and that worked. I think that works better on paper as well, just based on like what I'm thinking about here in my brain. So yeah, definitely in the draft decision making, they could improve for sure, and their macro could still improve, though they did show a really, really good game against Onyx in game 1. It's almost like they rise to the level of the occasion. They rise to the level of Onyx when they were up against Onyx in game number 1. And for that reason, man, even though they did fuck up the draft in game 2 and they did get outclassed in game 3, this is a team that we can definitely look towards maybe in the future beating Onyx. Who knows? That's really the criteria to be a top team in Indo, right? You have to beat Onyx. And for now, Onyx are still untouchable, but Ultra Ego, so far they come the closest. Bigatron could definitely get there, but they still have a lot of work to do. Let's move on to Dewa United. Here, will we change Dewa United's position? We'll talk about it. they are actually still so damn good. Gotta respect everyone in the lineup. Because last week, they did bring up Kimura. They did play Dixon as well. So one match on Dixon, one match on Kimura. And you could see for both of them that they... Well, in week 1, it's very evident that for Dixon, he's an enabler. He's an XP lane that wants to enable the team. He's an XP lane that wants to play make for the team. He's not much of a damage dealer or a damage carry XP laner. And Kimura is more of that type of XP laner. He's the guy who will try to deal damage and carry the team as an XP. This week, Dixon played the Lapu, his enabler pick, the way that Kimura would play it, the way that damage dealers would do it. He was just completely zoning Bigatron away. And to be fair, Dewa United were the better team in Game 1 against Bigatron Alpha. I'll have to say it. If it wasn't for that one mistake from Watt, Dewa United would have beaten Bigatron Alpha. I don't know what went on with that suicide play, like flying with the Mathilda, because I think that was just so troll. Watt is also an amazing gold laner, by the way. So Dewa now, in their lineup, they have an amazing XP laner, 2 of them, who can play both styles. They have a mid laner who is very, very good in this meta, because we are in a meta where damage dealt is being ruled by mid laners. So him playing the Novaria, him playing the Lilias, him playing the damage dealers have been phenomenal. K is very underrated mid laner in MPL Indonesia. And they also have a very solid jungle, Gary. This guy who was, I guess we can call a reject of Bigatron Alpha, a reject of Bigatron in general, because he did not make it to the MPL squad after his performance in Season 11. There was drama right before this matchup, Dewa versus Bigatron, because Jasgar was an ex-Bigatron player who was replaced by Super Ken. And in Game 1, he was playing better than Super Ken for sure. He was getting those red trees. He was playing the Barats with the Detonus Welcome. Just super on point for Gary. And again, very high potential. I've always known that Gary is a super high potential jungler. We've already spoken about this as well many times on stream about when we are talking about the transfers from for Dewa United with Gary. This is one of the junglers that Coach Yeb, back in Season 11, I remember Yeb telling me that this guy has a lot of potential. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see that in Bigatron. Luckily, we do get to see that now in Dewa United with him getting more game time. But unfortunately for Dewa, they're still a bit too momentum-based. Yes, in Game 1, they were better than Bigatron. They were playing the game better than Bigatron. Just one big mistake from Watt fucked them up. But in Game number 2, they just didn't show up at all. Bigatron dominated them, and that's something you kind of have to have, the mental fortitude. I think maybe for Drian and Watt, they didn't really care about losing Game 1. They're veterans. They knew. Even Watt, after making that big mistake, he's a veteran. He'll come back from it. He'll learn from it. But it does seem like for all the other members in Game number 2, they kind of lost their spirit a bit, and they weren't playing as well as they did in Game number 1. If they do not fix that issue, I think it's going to be a shame, because this team is surprisingly one of the teams with the highest potential in MPL Indo right now. They have all their players are actually just really, really good. I don't know if it's the environment that Dewa United are giving for them, because if you don't know, Dewa United, they have like a whole facility. When all the teams have gaming houses, Dewa United has a full facility for their players, and it just looks so crazy. I think we'll try to... You watch my stream tomorrow when we actually stream or something, but we will definitely react to the Dewa United facility, because it's mind-boggling. I've already seen it, but yeah, I might do a tour of it. Fuck it. We will never know. Maybe I can ask for permission to tour it. But yeah, Dewa United, for some reason, with their players, they are just so good right now. Super high potential. I'm not going to swap their position, though. I think this is a very accurate position to put Dewa United after week 2. For the mid-table, we will have a couple of changes here. We're going to have... Actually, this is where it was the most inaccurate, right? We got the top 4 very accurately when it comes to standings for, week 1 power rankings into week 2. But week 2, holy shit, mid-table and no playoffs, we got it fucking wrong, boys. Aura and Rebellion, for one, they both improved so much. And, okay, let's get on with RRQ first. Let's start with RRQ, because RRQ, it's a weird one for RRQ. They are currently in the red zone, but would I put them at no playoffs? RRQ, let's talk about their match against Rebellion first, because that was their first match this week. Up against Rebellion, they decided to utilize their secondary lineup. Banana, Clay, and Bunny QT, replacing Dawn, Octa, and Skylar from their lineup to play against Rebellion. Now, I do understand. After seeing week 1's performance, Rebellion's week 1 performance, it does make sense for them to be like, you know what, maybe we should give the rookies or our secondary players, our substitute players, game time up against a team who is just not doing well, right? And week 1, based on week 1. But, my lord, the improvements from Rebellion were too much. Everything that we said in the week 1 MPL ID recap, where we said their macro was horrible, they were drafting so reliant on cheese picks. For some reason, they completely forgot about their orthodox picks that makes Vincent shine. Everything that we criticized about Rebellion, it's almost like they watched a video, they listened to it, and they were like, yeah, let's make those adjustments. Because Vincent got his orthodox picks again in the jungle. He was able to find all the red tree wins against Irad, of all people. Irad, the prodigy, the guy who I've been hyping up, the guy who he's the guy I've been hyping up for a while now, even when he was in PH. And then Cars getting his damage dealers. Something that we also did mention about Cars, what made him special was he is a Paquito Benedetto player. He's kind of like an Aran, but in Rebellion, very young too. And he did get the Paquito. He smacked Bunny Cutie on the Paquito. Unfortunately for RRQ, maybe the roster change was not it. Yes, the idea probably was to give them game time. I don't think they were deploying this RRQ lineup to show the best RRQ that they have, because I think the best RRQ will still be their main lineup, the lineup they used against Onyx, which we will get into in game number 2, well, when we talk about RRQ versus Onyx, but we're going to still stay on Rebellion here, because I will have a few words for Bunny QT. Bunny QT, I also have, I actually really like how he plays in MDL. I have a lot of respect for Bunny QT, and I have a lot of respect for Clay and for Banana. I actually DM'd Clay right before his debut in Season 13. I told him good luck, because I don't know, Clay's just been always a cool dude, and you know, I like him. I'm a fan of him. I'm a big fan of him, and it was super unfortunate to see how he played. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the nerves. Maybe it's the pressure that is getting to him now. But there were a lot of missed mechanics that happened, and I'm really, really sad to see that happen to one of my favorite mid laners in Indonesia. I hope for Clay. I don't know if he's watching this, or I don't know if media will clip this, but yeah, for Clay, heads up, man. I know you're still really good. I don't know what's wrong with you know, the way you're playing right now, but I know you can be better. Okay, shout outs to Clay. For Bunny QT as well, I'm gonna have to give him a shout out, because in MDL he was performing like really, really well. Banana's still good, but yeah, we're talking about Bunny QT now, a guy who also kind of underperformed. I think it's just because it's his first time in MPL. He did make his debut, and he is debuting for RRQ. It's a big burden when you debut for RRQ. Could be used in a good way, could be used in a bad way. The bad side of debuting for a team like RRQ is you got so much pressure behind you, all the hype from all the fans. But if you are able to utilize it in a good way, RRQ, the Kingdom, is the biggest fan base, and they have the best support when it comes to supporting in the arena. Outside of the arena, it's a bit different. I don't even know if they are real, you know, RRQ supporters, the people who hate on their players. But yeah, definitely a double-edged sword there when it comes to RRQ supporters and for their new players to shine instantly. I think if there are people who are already hating on Bunny QT, it's a bit too fast to hate on him. Skylar wasn't good when he first joined RRQ, when he MPL. Albert wasn't good when he first joined RRQ MPL. So give him some time, and I'm sure he will be able to grow as well and become that player that, you know, we expect him to be. But for RRQ, despite that performance, I will actually still hold them right here. We're not going to change the position for RRQ. Yes, in the standings, they are 7th, but in terms of skill, no, because we did see their main lineup play against Onyx. Yes, they did lose, but it was actually still quite impressive, the fact that they were able to hold Onyx down in game number 2 for that long. In game number 1, they were absolutely stomped. They were absolutely outclassed and outdrafted, but in game number 2, RRQ were really good. I think it's still kind of the same, though, for RRQ. It's still kind of, well, Irad is also still performing, but for the most part, if they want to win games, it'll only come through Skylar. it's still Skylar Esports. What we said in week 1, I still think is very true for RRQ in week 2. It's still very Skylar Esports. He gets the Natan pick. Vren, understanding the condition of his team, picks up Natan very early, gives him a hyper carry to just carry the game. But a few mistakes here and there from Dawn, from Octa. Irad was retreating really well in game 2, but it was just not enough. And Skylar Esports, with the team dead, Skylar cannot Skylar Esports. He cannot carry all alone. He still needs his team to corral around him and defend him. But still, an impressive showing against Onyx. I think there's a lot of unwarranted hate towards RRQ against Onyx. I can understand the hate after the loss against Rebellion, because Rebellion were coming off of the worst performance in week 1. And then in week 2, RRQ lost to them. But it was with a different lineup, right? So I'll have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Against Onyx, come on, it's Onyx. RRQ can still improve. They showed glimpses of brilliance. Still a lot of synergy issues. Still a lot of issues in general. That's why we're not going to move them to great. Still, they're not great yet. I think they're still quite far from great. But again, their potential should be here, guys, all right? This is what RRQ's lineup's potential should be. But also, Octa in the mid lane. This is why, for me, Clay needs to step up, because Octa is just not performing as well. I think the mid lane is, for RRQ, a bit tough right now. Clay's underperforming, and Octa is doing better than Clay, but he's not doing enough for the team, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So, let's move on to Geek Fam. Man, am I disappointed with Geek Fam. I did put Geek Fam above EVOS from based on week 1, and they did beat EVOS, but really, in my prediction video, or stream, I did say Geek Fam will win 2-0 against EVOS Glory, but here's the catch. Only if they play Hazel. If they play Ray against EVOS Glory, they will possibly lose or win 2-1, and they did win 2-1. Bro, Ray won 50-50 in the entire match. He won 50-50 retribution. Even during the Lords, he had to rely on Beloyski with a Minotaur to ult. He had to rely on the Lapu to jump with Bravest Fighter and stun. He needs to rely on Claude to hit Van. For Van to die, then they get the Lord. They were so scared of a 50-50 that they had to burn everything, which is, again, something you would do anyways. But if that didn't happen, if there were any other 50-50s, Ray did not win a single 50-50, bro. I don't know how like things are backstage, etc. I can only judge based on what I see in game. But right now, Geek Fam, Game 1 was horrible, by the way. Game 1 was horrible for everyone except the boy. I'll have to just say that. Chidera was also doing pretty good on the Irithel, but Beloyski on the Angela was not performing. Ray was, oh my god. Game 1, Ray. Game 2, Game 3 was still better, but Game 1, Ray, oh my. Okay, let's not talk about that. Luke, he was okay, but he was still kind of like not what I would usually expect from Luke. But for a boy, jeez, man, this guy is so fucking good. A boy is so good, and Game 1, it was a boy esports. Game 2, it was a boy esports. Dude, a boy is such an amazing mid laner. Holy shit, how is he not getting hype? This guy is the most underrated mid laner in MPL ID. A lot of people already know that he's good, but man, I don't think he gets the recognition he deserves. He needs more recognition. This guy is so good. Unfortunately, though, the rest of the team is very shaky, especially the jungle. The jungle's too shaky. So shaky. Do we want to put them down into no playoffs? I think based on their Game 1 performance against EVOS Glory, they are very much so a no playoffs team. Like, seriously. Against EVOS Glory, game number 1, if that's how they play, they are for sure no playoffs. They're probably like only better than EVOS. But game number 2, game number 3, breath of fresh air for all the Geek Fam fans, because, okay, game 1 was a fluke. Game 1 performance was maybe because they were given a draft that they might not be comfortable with yet. And yeah, they did perform well. Luke, Chidera all popped off, and oh my god. Because of that, they are still here. I don't know if I want to put them above RRQ, because that was still, I think we'll put them right here, all right? They won't change. I think Geek Fam will still be here. 4 now. Gee, man. Gee, holy moly. I was so triggered after game 1, guys. I'm not even joking. I was molding. All right, but yeah, for Geek Fam, game 2, game 3 showed that, okay, everybody else could perform. Ray was still a big weak point of the team, but like we mentioned in week 1, they are going through the same arc that they did go through in last season, where they got a new jungler who is very undisciplined, but at least Niall in week 1 and 2 of MPL Indonesia Season 12 was hitting red trees. His problem was discipline, not skill, right? But yeah, I hope Hazel gets to play as well, because I think for Hazel, he was more consistent in week 1. He was up against Onyx and he was winning red trees against Kyrie. I think that's enough said. Let's move on to EVOS Glory. Yeah, instantly, we're just going to move it. I think everybody knows what the heck. How did they almost lose game 1 against Geek Fam? They had a 10,000 gold lead against a Geek Fam where only one player was shining. EVOS had all the advantages in game 1, and they needed 30 minutes to beat Geek Fam. Bro, that was horrible. You know who I voted for player of the game for EVOS Glory versus Geek Fam game 1, where EVOS Glory won? My player of the game was a boy. Bro, I don't think any player on EVOS Glory deserved player of the game after that performance. Legit. Player of the game, for me, game 1, Geek Fam versus EVOS Glory, was a boy. My God, was that the only time, and maybe the BTR Dewa match, where I would choose the enemy team as the player of the game over the team that won. I don't know what's going on with EVOS Glory. Last week, we did say that they had potential. That's why I actually put them in mid-table, not no playoffs, despite them losing 2 matches. I said Veldora is still a really good damage dealer. You give him CC, you give him Benedetta, you give him the Paquito, and he'll perform. I don't know what happened. Maybe he got pressured. Maybe he's not feeling it in week 2. But he was given Paquito, he was given Benedetta, and he did not perform. He was playing so bad. I do not expect this from Veldora. I actually rate Veldora quite high. I'm a Veldora supporter, man. I think he's actually pretty good. What happened in week 2? I have no idea. Only the team knows, because we can only see their performance. But I was really disappointed. I really expected Veldora, especially getting Paquito, Benedetta, the picks that he usually performs on, to perform. But he didn't. And Warlord as well. What made him special in Homeboys was how creative he was. You can pick him on you can give him heroes like the Grok. You can add so much flexibility in your draft. But he is just being utilized as a very standard mid laner. And maybe because of the few losses, his skill has also dipped by quite a lot. He didn't black shoes when he was chased down by Chidera. Little things like this that ultimately gave Geek Fam the victory. And man, this team just does not look good. The only guy who looks good on the team is probably Van. His retries are still really good. But he's only on the utility. The jungle without Nolan, Fanny, and Joy, it's just impossible to carry right now. And Van does the best he can, I guess. It's just Van. Van is the only guy on this team who's actually playing with 2 hands. I don't know what's going on with EVOS. I really hope that they change something, but I also really hope that they don't change something. Now it's getting to a point where it's really weird for EVOS. I want to tell, do they want to change their players? Because if they change their players, then we'll have the same issue again where, we already have a story as well from the owner or the president of EVOS owner. He did post a story about, the performance of EVOS Glory in week 2 and that they were going to make some changes. At this point, I think this might be the only time where I'll say, yes, I think EVOS Glory needs some changes, because right now the roster just isn't it, man. Holy moly. Unfortunate for EVOS Glory. It's insta down. Aura, though. Alright. Everything I said last week, only one thing stayed true. Or actually, 3 things stayed true. 1, Gugun is still fucking amazing. Jeez, he's still consistently out-retreeing almost everyone. What a player. Rookie of the week again, by the way. This time with 2 wins instead of 2 losses. But even with 2 losses, he was definitely the standout in week 1. Gugun is amazing. Number 2, Yaoi. I did tell you guys that Yaoi was not the problem. And Yaoi confirmed it this week. Definitely not the problem. So we got that right as well. And third one, Kabuki still can only play Claude and carry. That's all. That's it. That's everything I got right about Aura. Because let's talk about the things I got wrong, or the things that I criticized Aran, the most basic XP laner in week 1. What made him special, and I also said this in week 1, what made him special in Season 12 when he debuted was he was playing all these crazy picks like the Badang, like the Benedetta, like the Paquito, these damage dealing, split push heavy, lane-centric XP laners. And for some reason, in week 1, he was playing Terizla, he was playing Xborg, heroes that like are just usually normal XP laners, playmaking, very basic, and the way that he was playing it was, again, I'll say it again, week 1, Aran was not Araning. But in week 2, I don't know what happened. But he is back, baby. He is back. Benedetta Lethal Ignition. When all the Benedettas go QC or all the Benedettas go, you know, the normal pussy kind of build, this man is a Chad. He goes up with Lethal Ignition, full damage, only Dreadnought armor, goes to assassinate the enemy jungle and split push with the Paquito. He's back, baby. And for Aran, please stay this way. Please. Don't go back to week 1. Don't let it be only 1 week prime, okay? I'm one of the believers that you are not 1 week prime. Please prove me right, okay? And also, I saw a few comments as well asking me, what did Aran say in the interview after winning against Rebellion? He was saying, so because he did mention my name, he was like, yeah, Mirko. So he was asked by Bude, basically, on his performance, on Aura's performance on week 1 to week 2. How did they do it, etc. And yeah, he basically said, yeah, we improved so much throughout the week. And luckily, we did not perform like week 1. And he pointed like, because yeah, Mirko also said that in week 1, we were no playoffs. And then he said, now we're no longer no playoffs, right? Mirko, something like that. And then he pointed to me and I looked behind him. I gave him a thumbs up and he raised his mic like this. You couldn't see me there, but you can see the point where he raised his mic because he was looking at me. But yeah, Aura, I think with that performance and the way that Yehezkiel as well has stepped up so much too. We're talking about Aran, but I want to give more of a shout out to Yehezkiel because Aran did go back to his like normal style, but Yehezkiel, he's finally living up to the potential that I saw in him in Snapdragon Pro Series last season, Open Finals. When they were up against Bigatron, when they were up against everybody. His name was Syndrome back in the day, now he's Yehezkiel. Mechanically, this kid was crazy. But every time it gets to the regular season, to offline play, he just doesn't perform. But yeah, last week, he did. He did perform, and he was really, really good. So, and he also widened his hero pool. He didn't just play Novaria, and he couldn't just play Novaria. He played Vexana. Hey, another addition to the hero pool. And we got to talk about Yaoi, because Yaoi, he didn't just improve. He didn't just stay as good as he was last week. It felt really like an M4 version of Yaoi again. You know, how he was just bullying Vincent. Maybe it was also because they were up against a weaker opponent, Rebellion. But props to Aura. They have gone from no playoffs, possibly the worst team in week 1, to the highest mid-table right now. But I want to give him, like, great, honestly. The only reason I'm not giving him great is because they did beat the 2 worst teams in MPL ID. So I think giving him great is a bit too generous, but highest mid-table for now, sure. All right. We can give him highest mid-table. So it'll be Aura, RRQ Geek in the mid-table. And then let's move on to Rebellion, the final team. Rebellion have improved so much, by the way, from week 1. Week 1, they were looking to be a team that will go and win 0 matches. The way they were playing in week 1. Week 2, they're playing like a team that will go and win 3 matches. They did improve. But I still think they still reside in the no playoffs category. I'm very sorry. They still have very good players. Vincent is really good, but Cars is so flippy floppy. When he gets the Paquito even, you know, he performs well and then he doesn't. I don't know how to explain it for Rebellion. Because I think there's still a problem with consistency. Because the only member, or the 2 members that actually, yeah, the 2 members that stay consistent right now are Sway Low and Vincent. For Audi TZ even, the guy who usually is behind the wins for Rebellion, whenever he doesn't get his picks, which are the pickoff heroes, he doesn't perform. He played the Tigreal yesterday. All the Tigreal games haven't been too impressive. His Kaja has still been very impressive, but you can really tell that Rebellion and Audi TZ, if he gets his heroes, he is still really, really good. But the meta just doesn't suit his heroes all the time, and that will make them very inconsistent. D is still finding his footing in MPL. He got outclassed by Kabuki. He did really well against Bunny, but that's more of his MDL normal, matchups. And yeah, I think we just have to see Rebellion improve much more for them to actually leave the no playoffs category. For now, they are still in no playoffs, but I will have to say they are better than EVOS Glory for now, the way that EVOS Glory are playing. This is the official updated Week 2 list. Let me know if you guys agree with the Week 2 list, if you guys would put any team above anyone. But we're going to move on to the next part of the tier list, which is all player tier list. Every single role. Let's get into it. Sorry. Alright, boys, so here it is. We're going to start with XP lane first, boys. So, for the XP lane, by the way, we're not really going to explain a lot for the player tier list. We've already explained the teams, etc. For player tier list, we're really just going to try to go as fast as possible. So, S tier, we're going to start with Pi. I think right now, best XP lane in Indonesia is Pi. Yeah, Boots did beat him, but again, when Boots was given the carry picks, when Boots were given the normal picks as well, it did feel like Pi was just a bit better at doing what he does best, which is enabling the team. So I'm going to have to put Pi right there at number 1. Probably the best XP laner that we have in Indonesia right now. Then we are also going to place in, who should be next here on the list? Who should be another S tier? I'm going to have to say, when he does get his picks, unfortunately, when he doesn't perform as well. So I'm going to put Luke at A tier right here. Luke is still a very, very amazing XP. And again, mechanically, maybe one of the most gifted, especially on the Lapu-Lapu. He just understands the calculations to deal as much damage as he possibly can, but also survive. He also kind of has fixed a bit of that decision-making problem that he had before. So putting him in A, I think definitely makes sense. We have Aran next. And for Aran, I will have to put him in A if he continues with his Week 2 performance. Again, this tier list is also based on Week 2. It's not all time. It's not my predictions on who will be the best XP laner in Season 13. This is based on Week 2. It's the same as the tier list, okay? Of the team tier list. So, based on Week 2, Aran, if he continues to play the way that he has been playing, back to the split push, damage dealing, gimmick, kind of Diablo-esque playstyle, he can actually move up the way he did last season when he debuted. He was actually really good. For me, he was up here. But yeah, for now, Aran, I'll put him in A. I think Luke is still a bit more consistent compared to him. And we're going to put Boots still here. Yeah, Pi, Boots is... Yeah, I'll have to say Boots is underperforming. And he... Is Luke better than Boots right now? Because for sure, I still think Boots is still the top XP in terms of how consistent he is when he is enabling his team. When he gets his damage dealing picks, he's still there are some moments where it's still, some mistakes that Boots is making. And even the Yuzong, a few times he did get picked off, a bit random. But I still think he is here. We'll have to see as the season progresses if he will be dropped down or if he will reach his potential again. By the way, yes, my opinion is he is underperforming. I do not think, because Donnie mentioned in the desk or on the desk that no, Boots is just stagnating and everybody else is just getting better. I don't think so. I don't think Boots stagnating would be the way he's performing right now, because I rate Boots super high. For me, especially at his peak, he is such a good XP laner. He is a world level XP laner in my opinion when he is at his peak. And to see him like this, I don't want to insult him by saying he's stagnating, because that for me is more of an insult than underperforming. Underperforming means that he's just not feeling it now. For some reason, he's just not getting the same vibe that he used to, so he's not performing as well. Once he gets back, no doubt that Boots will be there. Banana, it's, I don't know if let's not rate Banana. Do we rate Banana? He played one game and it was against Rebellion. He was performing quite well, but I think for Banana we won't actually rate him. Dawn, right now, Dawn I think is B. He doesn't really do anything too crazy. He still has a lot of mistakes. He does make a lot of mistakes still, and he's still very inconsistent. But, that is because he is also very, very new. So we got to give him time. Just like Bunny Cutie, just like Octa, we need to give him time for them to perform, to improve. It's new MDL players in MPL. Dixon will be right here, I think, A. Cars will join Don at B. Veldora is probably, the way he played in week 2, probably C, but I'm not going to be that rude. And for Chorizo, I think Chorizo is definitely... These three could be like interchangeable, guys, okay? Dixon, Aran, and Chorizo could be interchangeable. These three are interchangeable. The top three is definitely Pi, Boots, Luke, or Pi, Luke, Boots. Depends on how you see week 2. And yeah, I think these three, very, very interchangeable right now. Chorizo, Aran, and Dixon. If you guys are asking why I'm not putting in Kimura, is because Kimura didn't play in week 2, okay? Very sorry, Kimura. We'll rate you when we see more games from you. And that's it for XP. Let's move on to the next role. Alright, so now we have the jungle, boys. We're going to move Kai Ri into S tier for sure, instantly. Taz into S tier as well. This guy is so fucking good at video games too. And then Gugun. For a rookie to be performing this well, dude, his potential is wild. And we haven't even seen him on Assassins. So, A. Based on week 2, okay? This is based on week 2. I'll put Super Ken still up there. Gary still there as well. I think for Ken, I'm going to have to put him above Gugun for now. He did face off against tougher opponents in week 2 compared to Gugun. So Gugun only went up against EVOS and Rebellion, which is still impressive. But yeah, I think we'll put him there. Irad did not have a very impressive week, but against Onyx, he did out-retry Kyrie a few times. So I will put Irad right here for now. Possibly, you know, it should be here, but based on week 2 performance, I'm going to have to put Irad just right here. And then in B, we will have Van. It feels so bad to put Van here. It feels so bad to put Vincent here too. Van and Vincent do not deserve to be B tier. But because their team have been losing, I guess we can put them in B tier. But seriously, I want to put them here. Maybe Van could be there because more mistakes. Vincent has been still so good in his retries, guys, in week 2. He was really, really good. He was out-retrying Irad even. So we might even be able to put him higher individually as a jungler. But I think we'll just put him here. Yeah, we'll just put him here for now. These three could be interchangeable, similarly to the XP for now. Interchangeable. But Van, so sad to see him here. I'm so sorry, Van. You don't deserve to be B, man. But I can't put everybody in A. I can put Ray in C, though. Like, dude, he won 150-50. Yeah, no. This is the list, okay? We're moving on. All right, we got week number 2 for mid laners. Oh my god, we gotta put Sans up there, man. We gotta put Krite up there. We gotta put a boy up there. These are the three. Well, you know, based on their week 2 performance, actually, it'll be Krite number 1. And then a boy number 2. Based on their week 2 performance, I think that, yeah, based on their week 2 performance, this would be quite accurate, boys. Yeah. So we'll move them up there. Yehezkiel, definitely A. Moreno is not S, A as well. For now, we'll put him in A. He is also still really, really good. We have seen him on those damage dealers. I think number 1 A. Then we'll put K's here in A tier as well. We'll put Swalo in B. We'll put Warlord and Clay in C. Oh my god, man. That's so... I don't want to be putting Clay in C. Clay... I love Clay, man, but... Week 2 performance says this is the... Does Don deserve to be B? I mean, sorry, not Don. Octa. Does Octa deserve to be B? I think, yeah. I think he should still be here. Swalo has been performing better. Honestly, Swalo should probably be here. It's kind of the same problem as Vincent. Swalo is still really good. Nah, yeah. I think Swalo is still really good, man. He's not bad. Seriously, he's actually not bad. I think he's interchangeable with K's. They're both very underrated right now, all right? And actually, 3 of these are very interchangeable. Yehezkiel, Clay, and then Moreno here, top A tier. And then we have the 3 S tier mid laners. Let's move on to the next one. We got the Rome tier list here, boys. All right, Rome tier list. Number 1, let's go and put up the boy, Keyboy, and then Yaoi. Keyboy and Yaoi. Very, very good performances this week. Amazing performances. Then we're probably going to put Rassi, actually, up there with Key and Drian. Then also, Beloyski. Where do we put Beloyski here? Rossi is definitely there. Yaoi and Keyboy are actually quite interchangeable based on week 2 performance, but Keyboy did face off against better opponents in week 2, so we will put Keyboy above Yaoi for now. But this could be interchangeable later on in the season. Rossi and Key as well could be interchangeable, but Rossi did beat Key. Key's still very good, very flexible. We'll put him there. I think right now Drian is a bit better than Beloy. Beloy, when he gets his heroes, still very good, but when he doesn't get his heroes, he still kind of in sometimes too, but it's okay. It's a standard, Beloyski 7-death power spike thing, so we'll put him there. For Audi and Brusco, interchangeable here in B tier for now. And Van Strong, really unfortunate, but don't really see him performing all that well in week 2. Yeah, unfortunate. Let's move on to the last gold lane. Welcome to the gold lane, boys. We got to put Iman up there. Still, probably one of the best gold laners with CW. I think Skylar is also up there. Albert. High A tier. High A tier for now, because we've only seen him with one game. CW still has been more consistent. Skylar and CW interchangeable. Skylar, when he gets his heroes, could be better, but CW has just been so consistent that he's more or less interchangeable. I think these three are still interchangeable, boys. But Iman has still been performing really, really well. Oh man, who do I put over? I think we'll still have to put CW, Iman, and then Skylar for now, but Iman's been consistent too. I think I can be a bit biased here, BTR fanboy. Bunny Cutie, or let's put Nino. Let's give Nino the respect he deserves, though. Seriously, let's give Nino the respect he deserves. This gold lane is probably one of the lanes where it is actually super, super competitive. Dude, no slander here, all right? Stop the slander. Everybody who's hating on Nino, the international viewers who are hating on Nino is so fucking good, bro. The gold lane is probably the most competitive right now that has ever been, because even Watt. Dude, seriously, if Watt didn't jump in with the Mathilda, he would be S. But because of that, he's A, man. Oh my god, why? And then Kabuki, sure, I'll put him in A. When he gets his heroes, Claude and Carry, he still carries. But when he doesn't, he's more like B, but he's still really good. So these are very interchangeable too. Then we'll put Super Red and Bunny Cutie. Bunny Cutie probably still in C. I don't think it's the worst performance ever. I don't think we'll have any C tiers for gold lanes. Not yet, at least. But yeah, so there you go, boys. Based on week 2. Is this more accurate? I don't know. Both of them are pretty interchangeable too, based on week 2. So yeah, that's it. That's all the roles, ladies and gentlemen, for week number 2. Tell me what you guys think. By the way, also, player of the week was Krite. Shoutouts to Krite. We already did a list for him earlier. He's so flexible. Enables the team to go for so many other crazy drafts, and he is always given these pocket picks, which he also performs on. So massive shout out to the player of the week in Krite. And for the rookie of the week, still Gugun. Shoutouts to Gugun. I think he really deserves it, especially in week 2. He already deserves it in week 1 over the other candidates. In week 2, don't think there will be anybody who disagrees with it, unlike week 1. So yeah, we'll see you guys in the next MiRecap or the streams that we will be doing tomorrow and the day after. Boom, bang, bada bing. Let me know what you guys think on all the lists, okay? All the ratings in the comments. If you guys would change anything, etc. Bye-bye.